For plebs, by plebs, dropping the Bitcoin-only signal. Pleb Underground. Welcome everyone to the Pleb Underground.
Pleb Underground here with perfect lighting, episode 33, newly minted rhyming writing. Keep building, and for what you believe, keep fighting. If there's something to say, can't be lip biting. No tokens, just UTXO's makeup. No pump and dump, no fake up. No short and distort if you withdraw from exchanges. Can't resist, but evolve with the changes. Each morning gotta wake up, heading out, but waiting for her makeup. She's not decisive, but you help her to make up her mind and her time she lets you take up. Keep fighting, push and shove. One day you'll find where you fit like a glove. Life isn't about stuff, it's about people you love. Showing appreciation, give thanks to above. Affinity selling, what's related they tout. Put off the fight and delay that next bout. Here we're authentic, you know what we're about. Salty shitcoiner, they scream and they shout. Bitter individuals with absolutely no taste. Their life has soured, it's all gone to waste. Disappointed their dads who promptly unfollowed, making their mums wish that they swallowed. Don't ask a man about the sats he gathers. What matters is that he's here to stay. Last week they called me Walton Mathers, but did you forget about Dre? Like the doctor, I'm a lyrical clinician, acute care delivered with high-grade precision. I'm a whiz with words. Call me Khalifa. I want all the smoke. Please pass me the reefer. Gotta study Bitcoin and do your revision. Can't outsource your thinking. It's your decision. Secret firearm production, ghost guns, making jokes and then leaving, ghost puns. You gotta orange pill yourself. Be confident. Feel yourself. Can't kill yourself. Preserve wealth and health. Who can you trust? Incentives, drive, double friends, but apparently we're toxic, not wanting double spends. Is this the road to paradise with your node and signing device? Wrap them like this verse, gotta spend to disperse. If you are what you eat and you know what you need, why does the algorithm determine your feed? How do we reduce the coiner, no coiner rift? Gotta be the ones who deadlift. Gotta lead by example. A cappella, no sample. Capella, it's apple juice. Can there ever be a truce? Can there ever be peace with your 10-10 piece? Love is a war you never wanted to cease. Straddling my balls like a 7-10 split. Pick up the spare with the very next hit. Knock them all down. Pick up the strike, making it pop. Do I need a better mic? Praise you like Fat Boy Slim. Stacking and lifting. Call me Sat Boy Trim. Joking, rhyming, hard not to self-indulge. With money this hard, got him looking at the bulge. Your chain is quite clearly a Dino. Bitcoin killer? Haha, it won't even kill Bill. Bitcoin is kind of dark like Quentin Tarantino. Shitcoin is no bark, can't use a steel. Hoarding canines, call them reservoir dogs. Verify, don't trust, and your brain never fogs. They're following false idols along the road to hell, believing marketing is research, still under their spell. Lack of education means numbers people hate. I love math, and I like to differentiate. From first principles, using the limits. This is corporate free creativity, no limits. 7-Eleven for convenience, fiat for obedience, Bitcoin 724, reality costs more. My sister in hospital, the doctor's on call. By the end of this show, please call me Uncle. I'm the family contrarian, but it'll all be peachy. Send the cesarean. Veni vidi vici.
Walton, you keep outdoing yourself. That was absolutely amazing. Guys, welcome back to the Pleb Underground. And joining us today, very special guest, new to Bitcoin, fellow Bitcoiner. I'm talking about Rune Ostgard, and he is the author of a new book that just recently came out called Fraudcoin. And he talks about the history of inflation. So this is going to be a very interesting discussion that we're going to have. Anyways, but before we get to that discussion, Rune, say hello to the fellow plebs.
Hello, plebs. Nice to be here with you.
Awesome, man. It's great to have you. It's great to have you. Okay, we are going to move on over to the numbers.
Yeah, the numbers, of course, brought to us by Timechain Stats and Timechain Calendar.
At the time of this recording, the block height is 783,362. The Bitcoin price, 28,370. Excuse me, the Bitcoin fiat exchange rate is 28,370. Total public lightning capacity, 5,000.
That's the fiat Bitcoin exchange rate, not the Bitcoin fiat exchange rate.
Oh, I apologize.
Right?
Yeah, that's right.
I think because it's like per. Well, I don't know. I get confused. But it's like per. What's per Bitcoin? I don't know. Anyway,
Let's just finish the numbers.
anyway, the numbers, Phil.
The numbers, dude. Okay. The total public lightning capacity is 5,387.07. Moscow time, 35:25. We're still below 4K, Walt, in the sweet zone. And the chain rewrite days, 671. Bitcoin not dead. Bitcoin still secure. Those are the uneventful numbers. But we have a treat. We have a treat today for the numbers with our articles.
Yeah, +1. There's one more Bitcoiner in the world because I'm now an uncle.
That's right. Congratulations.
This new human will most certainly be receiving some Bitcoin. Yeah, with me as an uncle, there's no chance that they're going to be allowed to pay anything but. Not that Bitcoin is, anything but voluntary and opt-in, but yeah.
We always talk about the Silk Road FUD, right? And that Bitcoin that the US government holds. Well, here we go. Tweet out of Tier 10K. US government sold 9,800 BTC on March 14th, intends to sell further 41,500 BTC connected to Silk Road in 4 batches over the course of a year. Court filing. Okay, that's not the interesting part about this whole thing. This is what makes it funny. There's a tweet out of Joe McCann. Just so we're clear, the U.S. regulators sent Coinbase a Wells notice, while the U.S. government also sent 217 million of Bitcoin to Coinbase to sell. Don't get me wrong, but isn't that ironic? Isn't that
no, it's corruption at its finest. It's exactly what you expect from powerful states these days, huh?
So Rune, let's dive into your book, Fraudcoin. So what inspired you to write this book?
Yeah, that's a good question because it was more like that I felt that I had to write it. I felt an urge to write it. I didn't know exactly what it was, but in 2008 I wrote an op-ed during the financial crisis, and there I tried to explain what monetary policy and inflation was all about, and I showed the readers that it wasn't a new thing. It started almost 1,000 years ago in Norway in the Viking Age. Then we used coins, silver coins. And it just took some 16 years from it started and until catastrophe suddenly happened in 1066 when many Norwegians and the Norwegian inflationist King Harald Hardråde, they died in a big battle in the UK, and they tried to take England, so to speak. And I showed the readers that the policy is pretty much the same. It's just another shape. It's electronic money, not silver coins, and the objectives are the same, and so this was something that I really got quite a lot of attention about at that time in 2008. But I didn't have many people to talk about these issues. I had been reading Austrian economics for some years then, but I didn't have any friends or any contacts, anything at all. Actually, that's a fun thing. I think the op-ed was published 5 days after the white paper was published. And I didn't know anything about that, of course, at that time. I think I first heard about Bitcoin in 2015 or something like that.
Synchronicity is weird, huh?
Yeah, that was a weird coincidence. So when we had gone through the COVID-19 pandemic, and we started to see the price inflation run amok in 2022, and then I thought that it would
you
be
mean with like commodities and like everyday purchases rather than like with assets. Like we've seen the kind of drastic asset hyperinflation over the last 20 years, but we've seen relatively flat commodity prices, because there's been increasing globalization, which has offset the inflation due to monetary debasement that was happening at the time, and improvements to supply chain. The globalization peaked, right? And at the same time, so essentially that's then a limiting factor, and at the same, and you've still got the effect of the monetary debasement. So the commodities and everyday purchases, there's no choice but for them to start going up in price.
Yeah, that's a very good description of what happened, of course. But the normal people, they didn't, they weren't aware of this problem before the consumer prices started to soar in winter, spring 2022, and it became something that everybody talked about within summer. So in late June last year, I started writing the book because I felt it was a good timing, and I just had to sort of get this out of my head as well. So I spent some three intense months writing the book, and published it in October. So it's a good timing, at least.
So let me ask you this: what were you most surprised to learn while you were writing this book? Like, is there something that really shocked you to learn about, like essentially the history of inflation, specifically in your region?
Yeah, I had been reading a lot of Austrian economics, Murray Rothbard and those guys, between 2003, 2008, 9. So I wasn't that surprised by many things when I started to write the book last year. But what was kind of interesting was to see how important academia, the economists who pushed for inflation as a policy as from 1920s and 1930s and so on, with John Maynard Keynes in the UK and Irving Fisher in the United States, and a Nobel laureate, actually the first Nobel laureate, who is his name is Ragnar Frisch, and he was a Norwegian professor in economics. And these guys, at least Irving Fisher and Ragnar Frisch, they met each other in, I think it was in 1929, around the stock market crash. So Ragnar was on a paid visit to New York. It was paid by the Rockefeller Foundation. So they started a close cooperation, Irving Fisher and Ragnar Frisch. And basically what happened was that the Rockefeller Foundation, they proposed that he could become the leader of a new, what do you call it, an Institute of Economics in the University of Oslo here in Norway. And they would pay for everything if he wanted to do that. And then he also got an offer from, I think it was Yale University. He could become a professor there and earn some good money. And he chose the first option. So he started his career as a professor in, I think it was in 1931 or something like that. And the Rockefeller Foundation, they paid his salary and some 20, 30 people who got to work for him. And this was quite important because he started immediately to influence the Norwegian politicians, the government, and also members of parliament, and tried to convince them about the positive thing with money printing. Money printing is good, inflation is good. It greases the wheels in the economy, so that kind of speak. And what happened later on was that he he basically educated all the economists in the University of Oslo, and they got positions in the most important institutions, like the Bureau of Statistics. What do you call it in the United States? The National Bureau of Statistics or something like that. Yeah. It's the people who decide the consumer price index.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm
So
not sure
and
what it's called
also
in the States, though. I'm from Canada, so
There is
Yeah.
no bigger lie than CPI. There is no bigger lie than CPI.
That's
I'm sorry,
correct. Yeah.
continue.
Yeah. So and also in the Ministry of Finance, and also the new professors in the University of Oslo, the economics professors, they were all educated by Ragnar Frisch. So he was influenced by Irving Fisher and also John Maynard Keynes, and he got to Ragnar Frisch. He got to draw up all the guidelines for economic policies and monetary policy in Norway as of from the middle of the 1930s, and his influence lasted at least until, I would say, the 1970s, perhaps longer. So this shaped Norwegian economic policy and monetary policy in a manner that fitted the US a lot, basically adapting some sort of a vassal state relationship to the hegemonic United States, and on a sort of a voluntary basis, but then based on academic input. That was quite interesting, because I also got to understand that almost the same happened in several other European countries. At least 4, 5, 6 universities or something like that were handed a lot of money from the Rockefeller Foundation, and it sort of shaped, I think, the monetary policy in Europe a great deal. When you had John Maynard Keynes in the UK and several other professors around in the northern part of Europe, so then we were sort of done. That was the most surprising thing, to see the interconnecting, or the relationship between what went on in the United States and in Europe, and how it all happened. That was very interesting. And of course, this is, I think, one of the most, that's perhaps one of the few original contributions in my book to sort of map this out and explain to the reader how this policy was developed. I think that's quite important, actually. So
I think it's extremely important. I didn't know that. I mean, not that specific level of nuance in terms of that. So that kind of paints a little bit clearer of a picture, right? Because as you could imagine, right, like the most powerful central bankers are, the Rothschilds, the Rockefellers, and then there's, at least 10, 15 other names that people don't know, or that don't speak of very much. But it's very interesting, because it seems as though it was understood very early on that in order for this to work, right, in order for this, what I call, what I've learned to call alchemy, right, in order for this alchemy to work with the money, you need everybody coercing together so that it can become huge.
And this is all copied the British, right? The Bank of England, I think it was like 1690 or something like this, was a bunch of secret people who were meant to put down a certain amount of gold coins, and actually they didn't even put down that amount. Central banking is essentially the invention of fractional reserve banking, and you've talked about kind of some of the Rockefellers and Rothschilds' involvement, but they're also involved in in paying for propaganda and for kind of pushing philosophies that help to essentially psyop people into either believing inflation is a good thing, or doing things like, for example, both adults in a household now have to work, and feminism is a psyop into saying that's a good thing, when actually it's not empowering. That there isn't time in a household to properly support the household, and you see then the children having a bunch of problems, and you see education over the years decreasing, and education responds to it, right? They turn into like producing worse quality education because the kids aren't paying attention, and it all just you just see societal erosion, and it happens because there's not sufficient time in the family for the family. And that time stealing is down to central banking. And as I said, they sponsor a whole bunch of gaslighting, and you see these central bankers gaslighting on behalf of the governments, right? Like they're saying, here we see, the ECB this week, they're saying, oh, inflation is being driven because workers want higher wages, and so firms raise prices, blah, blah, blah. No, this is gaslighting, which is usually like, I don't know about you, but certainly in the UK, there's certainly there's public health campaigns about gaslighting and how it's a terrible behavior, it's a manipulative behavior, destructive behavior, but governments are actually the best at doing it, or in some case the central banks on behalf of the governments, because of course the central banks bail out the government when they overspend, and so if you can also have the central bankers blaming everyone else for the government overspending, then it's not their fault, because that's what it's all about, right?
Never their fault.
On a fiat standard, there's a complete lack of accountability, and this is why so many of us are passionate about Bitcoin, because it's in integrity from the base layer up.
I think that's very well said. And I mean, let's be honest, right? The money itself has no integrity, so why would anything built with it? Why would it be that much different? And I know that there's people that'll make arguments to say, well, what are you talking about? Look at all the amazing things that have been built, with this money, right? To be perfectly honest, we have no idea how much better everything
like steroids.
You use better money.
It's steroids, Phil. You're just you're borrowing,
Exactly. It's built on sand. It's built on sand. Okay, so Rune, I actually have one more question for you on your book, and I want to know. So, based on your research, where do we, after you wrote this book, where do we end up? Like, does the government just, because it seems to me that the Norwegian government and the history of inflation is no different than what everybody else is experiencing in North America and in the Western world, and we can see that this all crept throughout all of Europe. So it's like, what do we have left? They pretty much have no choice but to kick the can down the road, right? I try to find other options, but I just don't see what it is.
Yeah.
Like, what else can they do besides print?
First of all, the question where we are today. I think that when I analyze the beginning, in my region, which is called Trøndelag, it's in the middle of Norway. We were a free people before 1050 after Christ, and we were allowed to use whatever coins we would like to use. We used coins from the Arab countries and from the Roman Empire and from England, etc. So it was total decentralization when it came to money. And
sounds like shitcoinery.
No shitcoinery. We only used coins with a high content of silver and gold. So
how did you verify? Like, how was it a culture of verifying? Is that what you're saying?
Well, I just think that they probably knew normally which coins would be the best, and they could feel it, and they could hear it when they pinged the coin, and So I think it must have been a great time here, and it's quite a rich region in terms of natural resources, and they had a lot of trade as well, and it was quite a lot of international trade at that time. So I'm longing back to that time 1,000 years ago. But the development afterwards, when you start to have inflation with coins, and later on central banks and paper money, and then you get international coordination, etc. It's basically the key word here is concentration. So you have it more and more concentrated, the power and the political power and the economic wealth. The few people get rich, and more and more people become poor. So we are basically in where we are now. It's one of the final chapters, I think. We are. We keep hearing about the CBDCs, central bank digital currencies, and we keep hearing about the small banks are being hurt these days, and we're getting more and more concentration of power in the large banks. So I think we are in one of the last innings here, so to speak. It's very interesting that Bitcoin came just 14 years ago now, before the whole inflation politics reaches its natural climax.
Mm-hmm.
So it's very interesting, the game that is being played out now.
But technology always is invented when it's needed. Technology can't be invented. Like do you know what I mean? If you invent something kind of ahead of its time, people will just be like, no, that's pointless. Like you can't invent, if you invent some electrical appliance before there's electricity, it doesn't mean anything.
It was created when it was
point.
supposed to be created.
Hmm.
Yeah, exactly. So if anybody's interested in looking in purchasing your book, they can find it on Amazon right now. It's available both in paperback and Kindle. And as we were talking about before the show, your book is also going to be available as an audio book in how long?
In 3 weeks or something like that, I think.
There you go, in 3 weeks. So guys, don't forget to check out the book Fraudcoin, and don't forget to follow Rune Ostgard on Twitter. All right, Walton, we are moving on over to REKT. REKT is brought to you by CryptoCloaks. Check them out, cryptocloaks.com. Also serving the EU, cryptocloaks.co.uk. Don't forget to use the code PlebUnderground for 5% off awesome items like the 3D printed grenade that holds an open diamond. If you get the bigger one, you can fit a full signing device. Don't forget to use the code PlebUnderground for 5% off. That's cryptocloaks.com. All right, guys. This is, look, even though it doesn't seem like it's related to Bitcoin, this is just a symptom of our ridiculous fiat life. Here we go. Tweet out of @yup that exists. Scientists create liquid trees. No, they didn't. A tank full of water and microalgae that could be an alternative to trees in urban areas. Don't be fooled. Don't be fooled. This does not replace trees.
Okay, Phil, can I start quick? Okay, so first, let's start right at the beginning. The first photosynthetic organisms on Earth were not plants. They were single-celled organisms, probably like cyanobacteria, kind of like algae, blue-green algae. Anyway, but this is just like another one of those like burgers where it's got, like meat ingredients, but it's not just like, a cow minced up or whatever. Like peak fiat stuff is just like too much ingredients, too manufactured. Just do the normal thing. Like that can't be cheaper. That can't be like it. Yes, okay, planting a tree takes some time, but that can't. That's just nonsense. That's complete nonsense. The surface area can't be sufficient anyway.
it doesn't offer any of the benefits of having a tree. It doesn't do any kind of exchange with the oxygen and the carbon dioxide. It does nothing. Rune, any thoughts on this? Ridiculous?
Yeah, where are all the dogs going to be shitting then?
Shitting on the aquariums.
No, because they're not going to recognize it as a tree, and so they're going to be like, where do I go? Like, where's my toilet, guys?
My first reaction is that it looks both stupid and ugly, and yeah, I don't see any meaning in it at all. So it has to be sponsored by some government. That was my reflection, immediate reflection. Yeah.
Well said. I agree. Okay.
Go work, go broke.
Moving on to the next REKT. Here we go, guys. Next REKT. That's right. That's right. I'm gonna make fun of the Mr. War Machine himself. Nathan Lee.
Base farce.
I got blocked by Jason P. Laurie for this mild rebuke. Do with that knowledge what you will. And indeed, here at Pleb Underground, we have done with it what we will. So here we go.
I've lost track about how many times I've been blocked by this guy.
Oh yeah,
like, he's a joke.
So here we go. The silence from the big name Bitcoin influencers about soft war is deafening. And this is definitely an interesting response from Nathan. Something Adam Back, Hal Finney, Greg Maxwell, or Satoshi himself would have never even think to utter. I gotta tell you, look, look, I understand his narrative. I understand it to the point of saying, because of his indoctrination and what he has learned and his environment, okay, he believes that his narrative about Bitcoin is the most correct, okay? And that is the way he sees Bitcoin through this lens. That being said, it's going to be very difficult to convince everyone of essentially turning Bitcoin into a nation state war machine.
Phil, I actually made a meme this week on this. Oh wait, sorry, I gotta unmute this account. Right, so yeah, Jason Lowry tweeted that everyone who likes or retweets someone who complains about being blocked, be me, I think he means by me, will be blocked. Like and reshare this, you've been warned. And so I was like, this is perfect. Like I haven't made a meme in fucking months, but is this soft war? Because I think that is literally the definition of soft war. It's some limp, low-T, not fucking nonsense is what it is. Soft war. Psh.
Yeah, it's just absolutely ridiculous. Rune, I don't know if you actually know about this character in Bitcoin or anything, or about the narrative. So I'm just putting it out there if you have any comments on it.
No, I don't know much about that now. So
don't worry, you're not missing much. All right, moving on, guys. Here we go. This is our main piece for the fail. Let's dive into it. All right, the Then They Fight You stage just continues. EU lawmakers vote to impose a £1,000 limit on unidentified crypto transactions. And I'm sorry, €1,000 limit on unidentified crypto transactions. Now, there's some very interesting stuff to unpack in all of this. All right, so let's dive into it very quickly. On Tuesday, members of the European Parliament from the Economic and Monetary Affairs Committee and the Civil Liberties, Justice and Home Affairs Committee adopted their position on 3 pieces of draft legislation on the financing provisions of EU anti-money laundering and counterfeiting, the financing of terrorism, AML, CFT policy. Bless you. That is a whole lot of wordplay. One of the 3 was the Single Rule Book regulation, which aims to harmonize financial regulation across the EU. It sounds so good, harmonization. It was adopted with 99 votes to 8 and 6 abstentions. According to an announcement by the European Parliament, this regulation contains provisions on conducting due diligence on customers, transparency of beneficial owners, and the use of anonymous instruments such as crypto assets and new entities such as crowdfunding platforms. They are very worried about you using money anonymously. Using anything anonymously, really. You should always be known in everything you do. Anyways, according to the adopted text, entities such as banks, assets, and crypto assets managers, real and virtual estate agents, and high-level professional football clubs will be required to verify their customers' identity, what they own, and who controls the company. So take a look at that. That bar gets raised a little higher for the rules for thee and not for me, right? Even some of the mid-level wealthy people are going to start to fall into that rules for thee category. Oh boy. To restrict transactions in cash and crypto assets, MEPs want to cap payments that can be accepted by persons providing goods or services. They set limits up to 7,000 euro for cash payments and 1,000 euro for crypto asset transfers where the customer cannot be identified. Look at that. Anonymous payments. It's a two-tiered system.
Yeah,
Very
but if you're doing peer-to-peer, how do you know it's for that?
I was just gonna say, I'm like, how do they like? So what? So if you and I are transacting, and I decide to give you like 1,000,
They can only do it for the KYC ones. It doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense.
Ridiculous. This is the dumbest thing
Yeah.
I've ever seen. You know, it's this is such crap. Okay, we're almost done. We're wrapping this up, and then we can crap on this thing further. European Parliament member Aurore Leluc explained on Twitter that the new legislation specifically affects cryptocurrency trading platforms and NFTs. Due diligence procedures will be put in place for transactions made with unhosted wallets. Damn you for transacting anonymously.
This bit's kind of funny because it's like, okay, AML is complete, shitcoin, but AML being applied to NFTs is going to be kind of funny because people like, I don't know, Jason Williams are going to get in a lot of trouble. Like, there's a lot of fucking people who've been doing all sorts of funky things with NFTs, selling it to themselves and then donating it to charity and all these little weird loopholes to kind of fuck with the fiat system. I think they're gonna get wrecked.
I agree, and I'm reading a lot of fear in this. So here we go. We're gonna wrap it up, emphasizing that purchases over 1,000 euros will be only authorized if the owner or beneficiary can be identified. Furthermore, the lawmaker noted that relationships with unregistered or unlicensed platforms and entities will be prohibited, and AMLA will establish a list of these entities. So this is absolutely creepy and psychotic, and you can tell that we are definitely running into I think we're running into the real part of the then they fight you stage, because this is completely insane. I don't even understand. So it's like a two-tiered cash system, but at the same time, I don't get it. Like, you can just transact peer-to-peer and completely just, ignore these laws. So what are they doing? Like, what exactly do they think that they're accomplishing? Like, I just feel, every time I read something like this, I feel like they're pushing Bitcoin more and more into people's face.
Emotion, Phil. It's about providing the idea that Bitcoin is a shady thing. It's not what normal upstanding tax-paying citizens do. It's something that people on the fringes of society do. Are you sure you want to associate with this group? This is divide and conquer. It's politics 101, sir.
Yeah, I totally agree. And they're criminalizing essentially. So sorry, let me rephrase that. They're creating the perception of criminalizing anonymous payments. So and we've talked about this before, right? You are not a criminal if you desire privacy. Okay, you are not a criminal if you desire to have personal privacy. That is not a crime. But for some reason, well, it's not for some reason, right? It's for the reasons of, I believe, control and coercion and power, that you are made to believe. The average person is made to believe that somehow the desire for some form of privacy is criminal. Rune, did you see this already? Did you see this piece of news already?
No, I didn't, but it doesn't come as a surprise, I think, because you see there's things going on all the time now, and I just saw an update coming from my bank that MasterCard couldn't be used to buy cryptocurrencies anymore. That was a message I got yesterday, I think. And so no, it's just keep coming more of this stuff, and it's I call it panic politics. It's pure panic mode these days, and they just feel that they have to come up with some new rules to show people that they are doing something.
I actually think quite often it's the financial services companies, the banks, etc., cucking in advance. Like they're trying to do like the what they think is the in favor with the politicians ahead of time to actually because that's how you do it, right? Is they bend the knee, and then at some point down the road, you know, they get a reach around or whatever it is. Like it's all sordid. It's all backroom deals. And ultimately it's like, yeah, I think I'm using a bank that, yeah, like shut down cryptocurrency payments. They mean payments to exchanges a few months back, and they said it was due to safety, and I'm like, excuse me, like you're saying, so it's safer for me to kind of save in inflationary currency that's being debased all the time, and that I get that you guys are kind of into counterparty, but like or rather you're into being a custodian, etc. But why do I have to hold pounds or dollars or euros? Like, I shouldn't have to.
That's right. That's a very good point. All right, we are wrapping up REKT, and we are moving on over to the Hopium.
The Hopium. Up next, we have the Hopium Den, sponsored by some apparel brand called Represent. It's the perfect gear for hanging out, for smoking some Hopium, or rather, that's not how it works. Phil, how does it work, Phil? I don't know, but you should be wearing Represent gear while you're doing it, and consuming the Hopium in a responsible manner. Definitely not in a Hopium den. So yeah, guys, head over to representltd.com and get comfy. Also, use the code PlebUnderground for some discount on all of the goodies over at representltd.com. Guys, welcome back to Hopium. Up first, we have a story about currency. We have a story about the decline of the dollar, and that doesn't mean it's going to be immediate. Like all these people thinking, oh, suddenly there's a few things happening, doesn't mean that it's all over. That's a meme, guys. Gradually, then suddenly isn't a two-step process. It goes gradually, suddenly, gradually, suddenly, gradually, suddenly. It means that the suddenly happens at some point, you don't know when. That's all it means. It doesn't mean that it's just a hockey stick change always. Anyway, a bunch of us. I say a bunch of us. I don't know who I'm including in the us, but I'm pretty convinced that like the West, US, maybe UK, were involved in blowing up Nord Stream, and I think it's about securing the petrodollar. But that didn't really go to plan because China is now extending its economic war that it's been doing for 20 years, trying to turn the world red in terms of who their major economic trading partner are. And of course, the US, I think, wanted Europe to be buying all of its liquefied natural gas because, of course, they don't want to buy it from Russia. But here we see France doing a deal with China to buy theirs, and not in dollars. The petrodollar is almost over, maybe. France doing the deal in yuan. So why is this Hopium? Let me show you the next bit. Okay. And Saudi Arabia are entering a trade alliance with China, Russia, India, Pakistan, blah, blah, blah. And China and Brazil are going to settle trades in their own currencies, not using the US dollar. Why is this Hopium? The reason this is Hopium is because they're just shifting a trust model. They're going from one model of trust to another, and over time they will all realize that they're all getting rugged by whatever. And I believe that, maybe others do too, eventually the only currency for international trade, or rather the only money, right? It's not a currency, it's not backed by something, it is asset itself, will be Bitcoin, because it's trustless, and can't be fucked with by the other one. And I think it's the whole kind of Mexican standoff thing. Like, I think having Bitcoin means that you're gonna have it's going to be positive for international trade, because I think what we've seen over the last, we talked about the peak globalization. The reason we went beyond the peak globalization, I think, is down to this monetary fuckery that we see from central bankers, like the debasement of fiat currencies competitively actually impact international trade, and that's really annoying. Like, people just want to kind of get, like, businesses and people just want to get on with their lives and live and strive and survive and grow and build families and etc. etc. But governments and central banks want to fuck with it. And yeah, I don't know. I think this is very, very, very bullish that we see countries stepping away from the dollar, because that leads to eventually them trading in Bitcoin. What do you think, guys?
Yeah. Look, I think that's definitely, I think those are interesting points. And I do think that in our current echo chamber, right, this is big stuff, right? Because we see this, because
I don't think this is immediate. Like, this is
exactly. This is
you know, a trickle, but it's
Yeah.
on the route to this. There's no
Exactly.
time frame in this. I'm not saying 6 months. I'm a Bitcoin. This is, you know, we're talking still years and years and years. But this is a significant pivot happening.
Yeah, exactly. But you know how it goes, right? We like to give different, you know, counter narratives and stuff like that. So the dollar volumes that are being done in these trades are, you know, in terms of world trade, it's pretty insignificant. But to your point, look at this shift, right? They're shifting it. You hit the nail on the head. They're shifting their trust model. So I don't think it's going to take very much time for these countries to start, you know, for lack of a better term, doing some fuckery with their money. Don't get me wrong. They're all doing it anyways. But obviously, in these types of trades, what I learned about Forex trades is somebody wins and somebody loses, right? Like, Forex is, it's a zero-sum game. It's binary, right? Like, it's a 0, it's a 1, and that's what you get with Forex. So, look, at some point, they need a global reserve asset that is the level playing field for everyone to come and join. And Bitcoin is it, because it literally removes the problem. Like, think about it, right? Like, just imagine if somebody would have told you, hey, trust this country to manage the reserve currency for the world. How? What kind of stupidity is that? You know, like, I mean, I'm pretty sure that back then people thought that. And the only reason that they went along with it was specifically because they saw their own gain and their own power, right? But at the end of the day, it's a ridiculous idea, and no government...
Because fiat's backed by violence, right? And the US had the best military.
Exactly. There you go. Backed by violence, biggest military. And, you know, I mean, let's face it, the US has exported their brand better than I think almost any other country. So... But still, at the end of the day, it shouldn't be a government. We can't trust people. Governments are made up of people. Why the hell would we trust them? You know, so Bitcoin's perfect for this. And to your point, it starts off as a trickle. And we're starting to see that trickle.
You make the point very, very aptly that is a small volume compared to total global trade of, you know, oil and gas, right? But... I said this, I don't know, maybe 18 months ago, maybe 2 years ago. I can't remember where, but I've said this a bunch of times. It's going to be very difficult to tell what percentage of the world population have adopted Bitcoin. So what do we mean when we talk about hyper-Bitcoinization? To me, the key indicator is seeing energy being priced in Bitcoin, and this is a step towards that. And so that's why I think this is very bullish. Rune, any comments before we move on to the next story?
My take is that the fiat system is a very big ship to turn, and also the dollar dominance. It's a big ship as well, you know. So it doesn't happen very fast. That's my idea. And but if you see it from the United States side now, and they have been having a sort of a war against gold for decades, and they got the supremacy with the fiat system vis-a-vis all the other currencies. Of course, the euro came in the 80s, 90s. The European currency came, and that was some sort of a competition. But
It was more like 2000, wasn't it?
yeah, but it was a currency agreement before that. I think it started in 1980 or something like that with some of the countries. Yeah. So, but the issue is that now suddenly they also have to fight a sort of a war against Bitcoin. And now this new arrangement between the BRICS countries, that's another war that they have to keep an eye on, and yeah, make strategies on how to cope with those developments. And I think it's getting increasingly complex for the United States how to deal with all of this. It's a very complex game. And I also think that many of those BRICS countries, they really don't want to have any solid new currency. They want to fill with their own currencies.
So Rune,
mainly.
good for Bitcoin?
Yeah.
Little
good
by
for
little.
Bitcoin. Yeah.
Excellent. Okay, so the next story, guys, we have a little tweet from my favorite spook. I mean, well, he's not really my favorite, but he's definitely a spook, Michael Saylor. But this is part of a story that I've been running forever on PlebUnderground, which is that institutional adoption of Bitcoin does not happen because they all put it on their balance sheet. It happens as they all use it for payments. And that happens as companies around Bitcoin and Lightning provide those infrastructure solutions to businesses, and you essentially see the payment rails of the fiat world of retail, etc., get cannibalized by the payment rails of Bitcoin and Lightning. And once again, we see another story here. Saylor tweeting that he's got some conference happening in Florida, hosted by his company, on why Bitcoin and Lightning is important for corporations. He says why Lightning is emerging as the open protocol for secure transactions worldwide. I think this is, again, bullish. Is it does this mean but Balaji's going to be correct? No, probably not. That's not happening. But little by little, again, things are headed in the right way. Here, further promotion of Bitcoin and Lightning by the corporates, and that cannibalism happening.
Just like you, man, we kind of have mixed feelings, right? Like we appreciate Michael Saylor's cheerleading and all that good stuff, but obviously, yeah, exactly. Obviously, the man holds.
No, I think Saylor's a net negative, to be honest. But I don't know. He's what's the word? He's passionate about Bitcoin.
Yeah,
like he does talk about only Bitcoin. But do I think essentially MicroStrategy is acquiring Bitcoin on behalf of the US government? Yes. Do I think Coinbase are as well? Yes. I don't know, exactly. And don't get me wrong, but like most of us will never know the real Bitcoin is not digital energy, for fuck's sake. Yeah. Like, for starters, like some of he Saylor, do slightly fewer drugs, sir. Like you. Yeah, and I think you understand some physics, right? Aren't you an engineer or something? Like, just calm down a bit. Calm down a bit.
The other piece to this, right? And this is something I think the shitcoiners use all the time, right? Is that, oh my gosh, this one company holds so much Bitcoin, they control Bitcoin. There's no central, as you guys know, there's no central entity that issues Bitcoin. So this ridiculous idea that like, oh no, if this one entity holds all this Bitcoin, they control Bitcoin. Look, for a very small period of time, they may be able to control, okay, or impact the fiat exchange rate. That is about it. But if they are not running a business that produces and provides some type of value that people are willing to pay them for on a Bitcoin standard, at some point, it makes no difference. Because at some point, they will run out of all that Bitcoin. They will run out of their moat and their ability to impact the market in a major way. And, you know, this is just what we see. You know, we actually see it. I mean, think of how many coins have been dumped on the market from the government, right? We were just talking about this from the Silk Road coins. It doesn't make a difference. It causes, you get a blip, right? Bitcoin hodlers come along and say, "Hey,
how does dispersion happen otherwise, Phil? Like if big holders don't sell,
right?
How does dispersion happen? Like this is a good thing, guys.
Exactly.
Okay, so okay. Yeah. The exchange rate in the short term might do something that actually means you're able to buy more Bitcoin. Oh, pfft. Are you complaining because actually you've stopped producing and you're just waiting for Bitcoin to moon? Sounds like you need to do some work.
Thank you. Absolutely.
Okay, guys, we have one more story. I say one more story. I'm gonna fly through not one, not two, but three links here. Okay, quickly. So, other Barry sharing from some fat guy that loves olive oil.
Fragile Nassim.
That apparently we are no longer a cult. We are now a cartel. So
moving up,
guys. Let's. I don't know. Does that are we a cartel? I don't know. Probably not. It's kind of cool though. Cartel sounds better than cult, I think.
We get more respect. We get more respect as a cartel, and we get more fear as a cartel, right? As opposed to
exactly.
People look at us.
Now, what do cartels do? Cartels get rich. So let me show you about how we're all getting rich. So, Fish, guys, if you those of you who don't know Fish. He's a funny looking guy, but he's fucking awesome.
Yeah,
like this guy is an engineer. He works for some of the top like mining firms now, like doing some really cool immersion and all this sort of stuff. Like, and he's fucking smart.
Very low key Bitcoiner.
And I'm really into math. Like this guy we have a math relationship. Anyway, he's sharing a tweet here. From TXMC, who we were meant to have on the show, but then I momentarily broke myself, and so he will be coming on the show at some point in the future, but he's not been on the show yet. But here, Fish sharing a tweet and some numbers and some modeling. Essentially, next top, he's saying $192,493.82. I'm very specific again. It's because this is just like some mathematical function. He's chucking a number in.
He just disappointed a whole bunch of.
And this is looking at how the percentage rise and fall of Bitcoin each cycle, and then he's created essentially a curve. I imagine it's a bit like some sort of sine curve. That then maps to it. You've got some exponential functions as well to kind of help with some of this stuff. But so 12.44x from the bottom of $15,000 sounds kind of nice. $200,000 is interesting. Now finally, I think it's pronounced Croesus. Yeah, he says here Croesus BTC. So what's happening? He says we're here. He says, okay, look, we've gone past this bottom probably, but we're still below. The what do they call this? The kind of realized price or the kind of. So yeah, he's talking about we have this price equilibrium essentially, and we're essentially still below this. But to me, I looked at this and I was like, wait a second, this looks like some Plan B shit. Let's just have a little peek just to see, because Croesus is a bit smarter than Plan B. Definitely, like, he's worth a follow. But let's have a little look. Okay, so he says this is the moment you've been waiting for with Bitcoin. We may never see Bitcoin's price this low again. Everyone misses the bottom. The bottom feels like a disaster, so we all freeze up and watch it go by. Forget about the recent price bottom. It's gone. Peak fear is past, but this is actually the moment you can seize why the next halving is coming. What has happened after each past halving? 2012, 2016, 2020 is a 12 to 18 month major bull market. This is the result of supply shock upending Bitcoin's supply, demand, price equilibrium. I disagree with this because new supply is not the same as supply, as in like how much is sitting on exchanges compared to how much miners are producing. The percentages aren't would kind of lean more that exchanges have more play in price. But anyway, he's saying not as much new supply, just as much demand. Number go up. Again, yeah, this is not true. It's only the new, again, not as much new supply. That terminology is correct, but to say that that's supply, it's not quite the same thing. Now, not a lot of noise in the price action, but he's saying the bottom is in. The current BTC price is lower than you should ever see again. We're going to gravitate towards this price equilibrium, and then we're jumping up. Blah blah blah. Who knows? To me, it looks, we all think price is going up. We all know it does. It goes like this. What does Odell say? Become an accredited investor, and you can invest in 1031. No, what does he say? He says, buy the mandibles, actually, which I did this week. No, what does he say? That's it. Stay humble, stack sats. So, guys, if you're stacking sats, it doesn't really matter. Like, number go up, number go down. You're stacking sats. Number's always going up. Let's go.
Good point. Good point. Stay humble, stack sats. I got to tell you, man, I think a lot of hodlers, that's what I was saying before, I think a lot of hodlers are going to be disappointed by that bearish number, that bearish peak on the next all-time high, 192K. It's like a pump for ants. What is that? We were supposed to hit 100K last cycle. But look, in all honesty, that was serious hopium. I am gonna seed that. That is some serious hopium. And for the people that were buying their first Bitcoin at the 60K range, I'm sure that they're looking at that number, thinking, hoping that that's what happens. But look, guys,
well, then you're a bit of a dick, because if your time preference is that you're looking at the next top, then go home.
But there's so many hodlers, man.
Again, it's 7 figures end of the decade is what we're hoping for, right? Like what does it matter between now and then? Like, maybe it does if you're really early. Okay, good. Then you can spend some Bitcoin and some get dispersed, and then again,
it just reminds me of that meme, right? That Wojak meme with the mask, right? Where the guy's like super angry, but the mask is smiling. It's like freedom money, but behind he's like, why aren't we hitting a new all-time high?
Yeah, it doesn't matter that it's not an inflation hedge. It's censorship resistant. I can still that's all I care about. Send something, but does it matter that I'm getting poorer? Yeah, it's fine. But I can still buy stuff.
You know what? I want to go back to that point about the censorship resistance. For any of the people that have actually suffered through a bank freezing your accounts for no apparent reason.
Yeah, I'm fucking around. It's a huge fucking deal. But what I'm saying is, we also need, for Bitcoin to win, we also need number go up.
But that's going to happen as a result. It's like a symptom, right? It's like a symptom of Bitcoin growing, which we know. But unfortunately, as you know, many people just focus on that stupid number going up, and that's it. So anyways, yeah, it's not just number go up. It's also freedom go up, right? That's something that we haven't probably said enough this cycle. It's freedom go up technology. All right, that wraps up the Hopium, and we are moving on to our monthly BtcPayServer update. Got something very interesting and a warning that we got to tell all you guys about. Here we go. We've got BtcPayServer version 1.8.4 that came out. As you can see, got 3 bug fixes, 1 improvement. Don't forget to update your software. Keep it up to date. Very important. BtcPayServer. Now, on to the big news. Guys, so we were told to warn everybody about this. We're going to help out. The Bitcoin bonus scam, okay? They noticed users were coming to the BtcPayServer support chat with dubious payment requests of $64 payable in Bitcoin from sites branded as Bitcoin bonus. Okay, so essentially what was happening was people were getting emails that would provide a link, okay, that would then show that they were quote unquote cloud mining and that they had a certain amount of BTC available to them to withdraw. In this case, 1.34 BTC, or at the time, $30,000 US. Of course, all you have to do is pay the transfer fee, right? And the transfer fee is $64. Now, naturally, there is no 1.34 BTC. None of this is real. You were never actually cloud mining, and you just paid $64 to
Yeah, come on, guys. This is the Nigerian prince scam. Like, this is like, if it sounds too good to be true, it probably is. Come on, this is basic shit.
So exactly. So guys, just just a warning out there. So BtcPayServer, just to be clear, BtcPayServer has nothing to do with this, right? They are simply, it is open source software that these scammers are using. Okay, so because what's been happening is people have been showing up to the BtcPayServer chats and trying to find out how they can get their money back. BtcPayServer plays no part in this. Okay, so please just be very careful out there. There's a lot of scams, and again, the worse that times get, right, as money gets crappier and people need to have essentially take more and more risk, we are unfortunately going to see more and more low-level scams. And they're going to get worse. They're going to get more frequent.
Because there's more desperation. There's more of a market for it.
So be careful, everyone. Don't fall for it. That was
Protect your grandma.
That's right. Protect your grandma. That was our update from BtcPayServer. Guys, that was our show. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Don't forget to check us out on our audio-only platforms, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and Anchor. If you want to stream us sats, check us out on fountain.fm. You can stream us sats through Breeze. Rune, how do people get in touch with you?
They find me on Twitter on Enur. It's my name, first name backwards, and then it's 72. So ENUR 72.
All right, we are going to put that in the show notes. That's fantastic. And for anybody looking for his book, it's called Fraudcoin. It is on Amazon, available through Kindle and paperback. Walton, how do we finish the show?
PlebUnderground, the episode with Rune. Here I'm saying fuck shitcoins, a cappella, no tune.